Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second day of the Women in the World Summit. It's great to be here with you. What was it that Madeline Albright said last night? She said, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other. So I love that, and I think it should be a mantra of the next 2 days. If you missed last night's events, I invite you to stream them on the Daily Beast because you'll see it all, including the brilliant Christine Lagarde last night at dinner having a really exhilarating conversation with Neil Ferguson, where she advised us all not to short Italy, which I thought was a market-moving comment. But last night, all of us were so moved by Sandra, an incredibly brave young woman from Congo who witnessed an escape from a horrific massacre in the country. And she said, hatred doesn't solve a thing. Justice needs to be fought for and demanded, and it can come from anyone, even a teenager like myself. You're going to meet so many incredible women like Sandra in the next 2 days. Angelina Jolie also told an incredibly moving story about Dr. Hawa Abdi of Somalia, who has been under such pressure. She has a refugee camp of 90,000, which has been invaded constantly by the rebels in Somalia, and she's in such peril at all times. And that really, I think, moved everyone tremendously too. We've planned a very busy morning for you. We'll cover the dangers of unbridled machismo in Central America, not a part of the world that you hear much discussed, but has been tremendously impacted by all the narco-terrorism that's going on there. You're going to hear about how women are slowly changing the minds and the attitudes of the men in Afghanistan. You're going to hear about the dearth of women in US boardrooms, which is not exactly news to some people here, and the emergence of brave women in combat protecting the country at home and abroad. After hearing the stories and meeting the people we planned for you, some of you may want to feel that you're stirred to act and that you want to donate in some way. So the Women in the World Foundation is here to satisfy that impulse, to harness of the energy and the goodwill that's going to come out of 2.5 days of sharing experiences. So when you hear a story that moves you, do go out to the lobby and meet with one of our foundation representatives. They'll be wearing hot pink, and pay a visit to one of our HP Women in the World Foundation pledge stations, where you can have a great touch screen and you can choose one of the organizations that you'll have heard about on stage, and you can just touch the screen. It'll give you all the information about how to donate. So speaking of energy, time, talent, and money, our first panel this morning on the future of feminism will be moderated by one Sheryl Sandberg, the celebrated COO of Facebook and fellow Women in the World co-host. After the recent valuation of her company and the rollout of their IPO, I imagine that she's been quietly celebrating herself lately. But actually, that's not something Sheryl makes a habit of, because one of the admirable things about her is how she celebrates other women and aggressively advocates for them to join the executive ranks in Silicon Valley. She often tells women, keep your foot on the gas pedal and stay in the game. But before we begin with her, here are a few words from a legendary woman. The gutsy, colorful Ann Richards was a Democratic governor of Texas who burst onto the national scene in 1988, bristling with wit and irreverence. One of my favorite Ann Richards aphorisms was her comment that Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, she just did it backwards in high heels. So even though Ann is no longer with us, Holland Taylor, star of the stage and screen, is with us. And in an excerpt from her terrific one-woman show about Governor Richards, she's here to tell us, in the governor's inimitable voice, what she would have said if she were here today. So please welcome Holland Taylor as Governor Ann Richards.